As you settle down tonight, feel the gentle rhythm of the city's heartbeat fading into your own. The pineapple fountains, once symbols of opulence and rebellion, now linger like a soft memory, prickly yet inviting, sweet but never cloying. Remember how history twists and turns, how even the smallest things, a fruit, a fountain, a fleeting obsession, can shape the spirit of a place. Let the stories wrap around you like a warm blanket, carrying you gently into dreams where Paris shimmers with golden light and the promise of new beginnings. Now, close your eyes and breathe slowly, letting the quiet magic of the past soothe you. Tomorrow will come with its own surprises, but tonight, you rest in the glow of a city that found beauty in the most unexpected places. Sleep well, and sweet dreams. Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into powdered wigs, satin breeches, and a world where fruit wasn't just food, it was flex. You're in Paris, sometime in the mid-1700s. Perfume clings to the heavy air, horse dung clogs the cobblestones, and down the boulevard, a gasping crowd presses against a velvet rope to glimpse wait for it pineapple. Yes, a spiky, golden, sugar-dripping tropical enigma that smells like heat and luxury, and the kind of mistake that empties your entire purse for one juicy bite. And you probably won't survive this. Because while Paris twinkles with fountains and flirts and powdered aristocrats, a storm brews behind those chandeliers, and no one who gets close to the pineapple craze escapes unscathed. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe it only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. I love picturing all of us falling asleep together around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge through a spring morning, your wooden shoes biting into gravel, and up ahead, carriages stop in the middle of the street. A man steps out in a violet waistcoat so shiny it could summon the sun. He's holding something, cradling it like a baby. The crowd gasps. You push forward, and there it is. Rough-skinned, yellow gold, sweet musk oozing from its edges. The pineapple, a fruit most Parisians will never touch, let alone taste. It's 1733. Pineapples, imported from the Caribbean, have begun arriving in Parisian ports, but barely. Most rot on the voyage. Those that make it are devoured by the elite before the ship's even done docking. You might be lucky to smell one. Historians still argue whether the first pineapple ever seen in Paris came through the port of Le Havre or Marseille. Either way, by the time it lands on a noble's silver tray, it has crossed an ocean, survived 3 changes of hands, and had more security than Marie Antoinette's jewelry box. This isn't about taste, it's about power. The Parisian elite love drama, and the pineapple provides it in spiky heaps. A single fruit could cost what a seamstress makes in a year. At parties, people rent pineapples just to display them, not eat, just show off. They perch like jewels at the center of banquet tables. When guests ask if they're real, hosts chuckle, realer than your husband's title. In salons, whispered rumors float like powdered wigs. Who got one this week? Did the marquise actually touch it? Did someone say she licked it? You lean closer. You want to believe. It isn't long before things get fruity. Literally. A baroness paints her parlor ceiling with the tropical fantasicrubs flying with pineapples instead of harps. In the Tuileries, an artist sells tiny pineapple portraits. People are framing them like royal miniatures. And somewhere in the Marais, a baker sculpts a 5-foot replica in sugar that immediately collapses under its own absurdity. Sugar, still not stronger than ego. The fruit sneaks into fashion. You spot women with pineapple earrings, pins, even hats shaped like the Freethou. The hats never quite survive the wind. A duchess famously loses hers to a sudden breeze near the Pont Neuf. It lands in the Seine, and a priest dives in after it. The priest does not swim. By this point, the fruit is mythologized. It's whispered that eating one gives you better dreams, clears your skin. One poorly translated Caribbean tale even claims it boosts fertility. Suddenly, every noblewoman is downing fermented pineapple wine like it's liquid gold. The results? Mixed. One countess grows sideburns. And it's not just humans catching the fever. Dogs start showing up with pineapple-themed collars. A groom dyes his poodle's tail yellow. No one laughs. Except the poodle. Probably. You start seeing patterns imageliterally. Wallpaper, china, fabric. Pineapples become shorthand for wealth. You pass a man selling pineapple rings that are actually just orange slices carved with little knives. Still, they go for triple price. Never underestimate desperation. Quirky detail. A popular children's toy from the time is a spring-loaded box where a pineapple pops out instead of a clown. Piney Pete, kids love it. Adults flinch. Possibly because of all the teeth. And then come the fakes. Oh, the fakes. Street vendors offer pineappled apples brushed with musk oil and rolled in brown sugar. Don't ask what the musk is made from. Seriously, don't. A criminal ring is discovered carving pine cones and painting them yellow. They sell one to an unknowing duke who throws a ball in its honor. He doesn't realize the deception until someone bites it and loses a tooth. Pine cone crimes become a thing. There's even a satirical opera staged at the Comédie Italienne, Les Faux Fruits it bombs. But still points for effort. The king, of course, doesn't simply want a pineapple, he wants the pineapple. The one so perfectly spiked, so golden in hue, it could be mistaken for the sun's own fruit. And because he is Louis XVABSLUTE monarch, wearer of silk socks, part-time perfume collector, he gets exactly that. You find yourself pacing the edge of Versailles gilded gardens. Somewhere behind those impossibly tall hedges and statues of mythical heroes, a gardener lowers his voice. They've built a secret house, he whispers, just to grow them. You blink. A house for pineapples. He nods solemnly. They call it La Maison d'Annes. Heated, glazed, guarded, and indeed, inside the heart of Versailles, tucked behind trellises and trimmed boxwoods, a greenhouse gleams like a crystal temple, specially designed to trap heat and shield the fruit from France's frosty kisses. It's a marvel of 18th century Botanian paranoia. Historians still argue whether Louis XV ordered it after tasting the fruit in a foreign ambassador's quarters, or simply saw one in a Dutch sketchbook and decided, yes, that. I must have that either way. Once he tasted its honeyed tang, he was hooked. But there's a twist. He doesn't share. At court, rumors spiral like powdered curls. Nobles complain of feasts where pineapple appears only as decoration of a dessert. He bites into it alone. A lady-in-waiting mutters, scandalized. Behind a curtain, another whispers that he talks to them, names them. One is supposedly called Suzette. No one can confirm this. The hoarding turns competitive. Ministers and mistresses plot ways to sneak a taste. One duke gifts a violin carved with pineapple motifs. The king glances at it and yawns. A marquis writes a 400-line poem praising the fruit's golden womb. It backfires. He's reassigned to a remote province known for cabbage. Then there's Madame de Pompadour. Ah yes, the royal mistress with more wit than patience. She's no stranger to competition, and when she sees the fruit monopolizing the king's attention, she acts. She commissions a pineapple-shaped perfume bottle, carved from rock crystal and filled with essence of bergamot and vanilla. She wears it like a weapon. When she enters a room, people swoon. Not from love, from sneezing. The scent is aggressively tropical. Still, it works. Louis notices. And one day, finally, she tastes a sliver. Descriptions of this moment vary wildly. Some say her knees buckled. Others say she spat it out and demanded toast. Regardless, she now shares the throne of fruit favoritism. This tiny shift sets off a chain reaction. Nobles scramble. If the king and Pompadour eat pineapple, everyone must. The demand spikes and Versailles garden staff can't keep up. Pineapples take months to grow. They're moody. They sulk without sun. They require care, warmth, and yes, actual cow dung. You can imagine how well that fits in with court fashion. That's when things get dark. Black market pineapples. Whispers swirl of Caribbean merchants bribing guards. Fruit smuggled under dresses. One ambassador allegedly hides a pineapple in a harp case. Another noblewoman pretends to be pregnant just to sneak one past the gate. A high-ranking bishop is caught red-handed attempting to baptize a pineapple before presenting it to the king. His reasoning: if it's to be adored like a relic, it should be holy. The king finds this hilarious and lets him go. Others aren't so lucky. You overhear two servants whispering about a gardener who tried to pocket a small one for his wife. They shaved his head and fed him rhubarb. You're not sure which part is punishment. But here's the twist: despite all the madness, Louis never grows tired of the pineapple. It remains his silent obsession. Sometimes he stares at one for hours. Other times he orders it sliced, but not eaten. Instead, the slices are dried, powdered, and mixed into scented envelopes for his correspondence. Yes, pineapple-scented letters. A thing. And then comes the greatest insult. He throws a masked ball with a pineapple. The mean serves none. Guests arrive in golden costumes, feathered headdresses, and one absolutely ridiculous man dressed as a pineapple. Full brown armor, green fronds sticking from his wig. He trips. 3 people are hospitalized. The highlight of the evening: a mechanical centerpiece that opens slowly to reveal a single pineapple rotating on a mirrored pedestal. Everyone stares. No one eats. That same night, a count is caught trying to lick it when he thinks no one is looking. Someone is. The gossip alone fuels Paris for weeks. Meanwhile, outside the palace walls, common folk begin to hear whispers that the king spends more on pineapple preservation than he does on roads. That fruit gets heated beds while babies sleep on straw. The satire starts creeping in. Pamphlets surface. Le roi Anon, as they call him, the pineapple king. Of course, no one says this to his face. Yet, you walk back through the village near Versailles and see children playing with sticks shaped like pineapples. One's pretending to be the king. I decree juice for all, he yells. Everyone laughs. But there's something underneath. A tension you can't quite name. Back in the palace, Louis is inspecting his latest acquisition, an especially plump specimen grown in his private hothouse. He lifts it delicately. It glows. He sighs. He doesn't know that outside, in the city, the tide is shifting. That what began as a fruit fad is slowly becoming something stranger, more dangerous. But that's later. For now, the king still believes he's the only one who gets to taste paradise. You're standing in the shadow of a steaming glass palace. Inside, the air is thick with humidity and secrets. You wipe the fog from a window pane and peek into the future of French horticulture. A glowing pineapple tucked beneath wide, waxy leaves, its crown sharp as a noblewoman's laugh. Welcome to the botanical arms race. Once word spreads that the king is growing pineapples at Versailles, every aristocrat with a name and a spare field decides they must do the same. And not just grow them better. Faster, sweeter, spikier. If the king's got fruit, well, so will I, but mine will play harpsichord. Historians still argue whether it was the Duchesse de Chartres or the Marquis de Fontenay who first commissioned a private ananasaria pineapple hothouse, but either way, within 5 years, they're popping up like mushrooms in noble estates across France. It becomes a full-blown craze. The nobility, obsessed with tropical agriculture, throw money and manure at the problem. Pineapples are not native to France. They hate the cold, the frost, and the general existential gloom of European winters. So what do the French do? They invent micro-sunshine. You overhear one nobleman bragging at a salon, My hothouse maintains a perfect 30 degrees, with steam vents hand-forged in Milan. His rival smiles. Adorable. Mine has violinists who play nightly. The pineapples adore Vivaldi. The technology gets inventive. Some use mirrors to reflect more light onto the plants. Others pipe in heat from underground stoves. One baron is said to have employed 20 boys with fans just to keep the condensation off the glass. It ends badly. One slips. There are lawsuits. And bruises. Mostly egos. This isn't just gardening. It's status warfare. With chlorophyll. The pineapples themselves are measured like livestock. 13 centimeters across, boasts a duke, as if announcing his heir. Competitions arise. Who can fruit first? Who can fruit longest? Who can fruit with flair? In this frenzy, a curious character emerges. Dr. Thibault Lorraine, a botanist turned celebrity. He's thin, wiry, and never seen without his velvet gloves and monocle. He claims to speak pineapple, or at least to understand its moods. His pamphlet, The Whispering Crown, becomes a bestseller in Paris. In it, he writes, pineapples prefer silence. They bruise with gossip. People believe him. You visit one estate where they've wallpapered the greenhouse interior with soft landscape soothing imagery to keep the fruit relaxed. Another noblewoman plays harp music during sprouting season. There's even a fruit whisperer who's paid to sleep among the plants, breathing gently on them. You try not to judge. The fringe detail. Someone swears by burning a little jasmine incense during the full moon to invite sweetness. No one knows if it works, but it smells divine. And nobles love a ritual that costs a fortune and does almost nothing. Things escalate quickly. Greenhouses morph into full-blown cathedrals of agriculture. Columns, chandeliers, painted ceilings all to glorify a single fruit. You hear of one viscount who builds a 2-story pineapple pagoda. Not only does it not function, but it catches fire when a guest drops a candle. His entire crop turns to caramel in seconds. Guests applaud. It smells incredible. Meanwhile, the pineapple obsession fuels a growing black market in gardening gear. Smugglers bring in volcanic soil from the Canary Islands. There's a shortage of glass panes across rural France. Too many are being used to build tropical boxes. One thief is caught stealing manure from Versailles royal stables and reselling it as regal fertilizer. Honestly. Respect. Not everyone is amused. Farmers, actual farmers, scoff. We grow potatoes to survive. They grow pineapples to flirt, grumbles one. But no one listens. Not when the court is staging pineapple-themed plays and handing out golden watering cans as party favors. You start to feel the divide widening. And yet, even among the absurdity, there's brilliance. The need to grow pineapples accelerates botanical science. Thermometers improve. Glass becomes stronger. Soil chemistry sees a leap forward. These hothouses, they're the ancestors of modern greenhouses. And they're built out of ego, fruit envy, and sheer, delicious madness. One scholar writes, decades later, the 18th century French pineapple was not merely a fruit, it was a mirror. And in it, France saw its hunger, its beauty, and its doom. But you don't need poetry. You just need to open a window. Steam rolls out of the greenhouse. A single pineapple sits on a marble pedestal, its crown glistening, its body striped with gold and shadow. A servant turns it gently, humming a lullaby. Outside, a noble sips brandy and watches. He spent a year growing this thing. He doesn't want to eat it. He wants you to want to eat it. And oh, you do. But the moment passes. The glass fogs over again. You walk away, unsure whether you've witnessed gardening or idolatry. Probably both. One last thing. In the village tavern, an old man tells you of a nobleman who trained his pineapples to dance. You laugh. He doesn't. No, he whispers. They danced in his dreams. Every night. Until he went mad. You believe him just enough to sleep with your windows closed. You wake to the distant sound of hooves clattering over cobblestones and the flick of silk fans behind painted coach windows. You're in Paris now, and something's shifted. The pineapple fever that once simmered behind palace walls has burst into the boulevards. It's no longer confined to hothouses and powdered wigs. Now it's everywhere. The fruit has trickled down, like dripping sugar over a tart, and Parisians bless their dramatic little hearts are utterly, ferociously obsessed. Not with eating it, mind you. Still too expensive for the average person to chew. No, it's become a symbol, a meme, centuries before the word exists. You pass a bakery window where the display isn't bread, it's pineapple sculptures, carved from sugar, glittering under waxed parchment, as if daring someone to lick them. In the next alley, a cabaret dancer twirls in a skirt made of faux pineapple fronds. She blows kisses that smell faintly of molasses and pomade. You do not recover. Everywhere you go, someone is wearing embroidered pineapples on coats, hats shaped like pineapples, little pineapple-shaped earrings, sold by street vendors who shout l'ananas. Pour les dames elegantes. You watch a baker etch tiny pineapples into the crust of a meat pie. Pineapple art, pineapple poetry, pineapple-scented hair powder. You sneeze, then smile. Historians still argue whether this craze began with a single printed etching of Louis XV holding a pineapple like a scepter, or whether it was just the inevitable byproduct of royal mimicry. But what's certain is this: Paris falls head over heels for the exotic. You step into a fashionable salon, where a crowd listens breathlessly as a man reads an erotic ode titled to Her Majesty. The fruit, it's full of double entendres and dangerous metaphors about golden flesh and juicy betrayal. Someone swoons. You sip your drink more carefully. But the true crown jewel, the fountains. They start modest ornamental displays in private gardens, a gentle pineapple motif in stone. Then, as with everything touched by the 18th century French aristocracy, they go ludicrous. The first major pineapple fountain appears in a private square belonging to the Comte de Leon. He installs a three-tiered marble basin, each level shaped like a pineapple's crown, water trickling down like juice from the heavens. It becomes the talk of the town. By week's end, at least 7 imitations have popped up, each more extravagant than the last. You see one where actual fruit is placed atop the jets every morning by trembling servants. Another where the water is perfumed. One lady installs a fountain where champagne flows down from a pineapple chalice, but it's short-lived. Too many pigeons, too many drunks. And then there's the infamous Night of the Sparkling Fruit. On that evening, the Baroness de Chatillon unveils her piece de resistance, a glowing pineapple fountain lit from beneath by a system of mirrored oil lamps. When the water runs, the light shimmers like fire. Gasps erupt. Someone weeps. Another man proposes marriage to a stranger on the spot. She declines gracefully. The pineapple is no longer just a fruit. It's a fantasy. Yet this obsession starts to splinter. The poor have never even seen a real pineapple start mocking the rich. You pass a puppet show where a king with a pineapple head dances while peasants pelt him with onions. Children chant songs about the fruit that costs a cow, and suddenly, the pineapple is both divine and ridiculous. In the city's cafe society, intellectuals debate it furiously. Is this fruit a sign of France's enlightened globalism, or just another symptom of decadence and detachment? One philosopher writes that the pineapple is a metaphor for empire, sweet, sharp, and utterly unnatural. Another argues it's just a really pretty snack. Somewhere near the Seine, you stumble upon a street artist painting a giant mural, a pineapple wearing a powdered wig, lounging on a throne, surrounded by crying grapes. It's poignant, possibly treasonous, definitely hilarious. And then comes the fringe. You hear whispers of secret pineapple societies, cults even. One woman swears she attended a midnight ritual where devotees place gold leaf pineapples on a mirrored altar and prayed for a sweeter tomorrow. Another man insists he once ate a slice so perfect it gave him visions of the afterlife, and the angels were sticky. A man in a cloak sells you a vial labeled pineapple elixir. He claims it promotes virility, clarity, and dreams of warm beaches. It smells like rum and regret. You drink half, just to see. The oddest trend of all. Pineapple therapy. Yes. Wealthy Parisians pay to sit in rooms surrounded by the fruit reel or fake and meditate on its form. The symmetry, one man murmurs, it helps me forget my debts. Another claims, just being near a pineapple improves his marriage. His wife scowls. We'll see. Of course, not all is sweet and spiky. There's a growing backlash. Philosophers write angry tracts on the tyranny of the tropical. Bakers stage protests, tired of making pineapple-shaped bread while real grain prices rise. Even some nobles get fed up. The Comtesse de Verviers famously hosts a dinner where every dish is pineapple lemonade soup, stew pudding, even the wine. Half the guests leave before dessert. The others never speak of it again. And then, inevitably, a pineapple riot. It begins with a shipment arriving at the Paris port. 12 glorious pineapples, meant for a royal gala. They never make it. Somewhere between the docks and the palace, a crowd forms. Someone shouts, "Pour les pupils," and chaos erupts. By morning, there's pineapple juice in the gutters. You walk past a tavern that night, where a man plays a sad tune on a flute made from dried pineapple stem. It's mournful, beautiful, possibly moldy. The age of polite admiration is over. The fruit is now loaded with meaning, with irony, with class rage. You look up at a fountain shaped like a pineapple and realize it's no longer a symbol of the king's delight. It's a monument to everything France has become: curious, extravagant, divided, and utterly, wonderfully absurd. You lean on a wrought iron railing, watching dawn peel the chill from the rooftops of Paris. Behind you, the pineapple-shaped fountains burble like sleepy gossipers, and below, the streets stretch out in bruised pink and gold. But you're not here for the view. You're here because someone stole a fruit, and Paris can't stop talking about it. It's the most delicious scandal in recent memory. The setting, the Château de Rambouillet, an estate so regal it practically curtsies when you walk in. Inside its labyrinth of salons and tapestries, a single pineapple had been ripening expensively for nearly 15 months. It was known as l'Empire, the heavenly one. It had its own attendant, a glass cloche shaped like a bell tower, and yes, a harpist who played every Thursday. Not for the guests, for the fruit. Then one morning, it vanishes. Gone. Just an empty velvet pedestal and a few suspiciously tropical footprints. Parisians lose their collective minds. What follows isn't just outrage, it's full-on fruit frenzy. Historians still argue whether it was an inside job or a rebellious gardener's prank. But what's undeniable is this. Within 24 hours, l'affaire Anonis becomes national news. Pamphlets fly. Poets write sonnets of longing. The Gazette runs headlines like "Gone to Seed," "Royal Fruit Missing," and "Appeal of Deception." You watch as people stage reenactments in the streets, complete with cardboard pineapples and overacted sobbing. One dramatist mounts a full one-act tragedy at the Comédie Française titled "The Golden Flesh." It ends with a pineapple being stabbed and the audience erupting in tears and applause. Naturally, in cafes, theories abound. Some say the Prussians took it. Others suspect jealous nobles. A few blame ghosts. One eccentric baroness insists the pineapple simply ascended, like a saint. The most enduring theory: an underground pineapple ring. Yes, you hear it whispered over bitter coffee and croissants. There's a cabal of fruit thieves, stealing pineapples for the black market. Not to eat, no. To possess. To gloat over. To show off during candlelit dinners and say things like, "Oh, this old thing," while servants pass out from jealousy. You follow the rumor trail to a shadowy part of Paris alleys that curl like secrets. In one smoke-filled den, a man with silver buttons and ink-stained fingers shows you a sketchbook filled with pineapple sightings. The rarest ones, he murmurs, are passed hand to hand, like relics. A single slice can sell for more than a carriage. Another woman tells you she once saw a noblewoman sniffing a pineapple slice, then locking it in a jeweled box. She said it made her dream of Brazil. She's never been to Brazil. By now the fruit is currency. Weddings are sealed with pineapple syrup. Affairs are discovered when a wife finds a dried pineapple wedge in her husband's pocket. A duel is fought, pistols adorn over a forged pineapple invitation. The loser is shot in the shoulder, but more devastating, his pineapple is revealed to be made of papier-mâché. The social circles tighten. Invitations marked with tiny pineapple wax seals become the most sought-after tickets in town. They lead to salons where nobles gather, not just to taste the fruit, which is still horrifically rare, but to talk about it. One woman reads aloud from a diary she claims was written by a pineapple plant. Another man insists he's trained a parrot to recite pineapple facts. It doesn't go well. And then there are the counterfeits. As demand grows, forgers get crafty. You encounter one in a Montmartre basement, a man with sticky fingers and a wild grin. He's sculpting faux pineapples from beeswax and resin. For the desperate, he says. For the broken-hearted. For those who need to believe, he offers you one. It's absurdly convincing. Until you touch it. Then you're just holding sadness. At the same time, there's a quiet group of pineapple purists. They believe the fruit should never be displayed. That its beauty is sacred, not ornamental. They meet in secret, in candlelit circles, to discuss soil and sugar content, never fashion or fountains. You attend one of these meetings. It feels like a cross between a botanical lecture and a cult. One man weeps as he describes his first real bite. It was like kissing a volcano, he says. No one laughs. But underneath all of its scandals, the thefts, the glittery gossip, you start to sense something deeper, fear. France is beginning to tremble. Bread prices are rising. The streets are angrier. You notice guards walking more briskly, nobles peering over their shoulders. And amid this unrest, the obsession with pineapples feels odd, delusional, like a dream people refuse to wake from. You overhear one merchant whisper, "We're building fountains while people starve." A painter you meet is more poetic. The pineapple is a crown on a collapsing head. Still, the parties rage on. One grand affair features a mechanical pineapple that opens like a music box. When the gears turn, tiny dancers emerge, marzipan figures that twirl to a delicate harpsichord melody. It's mesmerizing, and more than a little tragic. You start to wonder, what if the stolen pineapple, the one from Rambouillet, never existed at all? What if it was always just a myth, a shimmering distraction, a fruity MacGuffin meant to keep Paris dreaming while everything beneath it cracked? Historians still debate whether l'Empire ever even bore fruit. Some suggest it was an elaborate hoax to inspire envy among nobles. Others believe it was eaten privately by a servant, who now lives anonymously on a farm, haunted by flavor. But for you it doesn't matter, because one night, in the haze of lanterns and gossip, you glimpse something. A passing carriage. A flash of gold inside. Could it be? No one else seems to notice. But you know what you saw. And just like that, l'affaire anonyme becomes your obsession too. The scent of burnt sugar lingers in the air as you shuffle into a quiet square behind the Palais Royal. Pineapple graffitis, graffitiers smudged on a stone wall. Someone's drawn it wearing a crown, eyes crossed, tongue out. Mockery or worship? Hard to tell. Tonight, you're chasing the most absurd development yet, the rise of pineapple politics. It's not enough that the fruits invaded Parisian art, fashion, and fountains. Now it's sinking its juicy teeth into the great debate halls, becoming metaphor, mascot, and manifesto all in one weird, spiky package. You slip into a packed salon, hosted by none other than Madame Dessous, famed for her wit, her withering stare, and her table-sized model of a pineapple orchard made entirely from spun sugar and mirrors. It rotates. Slowly, the room hushes as a powdered gentleman stands to speak. He wears a yellow waistcoat stitched with tiny fruit. "My friends," he declares, "the pineapple is not merely fruit, it is a philosophy." You groan quietly. He continues, "Its exterior is armor, its interior, gold. It reflects the nation. We are hard, yet sweet. Spiny, yet tender. Tropical, yet tragically landlocked." Polite applause follows. One lady faints from intellectual excitement. Across town, another salon scoffs at this. There, a satirical pamphlet is passed around called The Hollow Crown, France's Pineapple Delusion. It opens with a drawing of King Louis XVI balancing a pineapple on his head like a circus trick. Beneath the line, "If only he governed as well as he gardens." Historians still argue whether satire like this was innocent jest or coded rebellion. After all, the pineapple had become code. You visit the printing quarter, where printers whisper about secret newsletters folded into wax-sealed pineapple-shaped envelopes. They criticize the crown under fruity aliases. One column reads, "Today, the fruit of gold laughed while farmers died, strong stuff. Definitely treasonous." You pretend not to notice the guards lurking nearby. Back at the palace, things are stranger. The queen herself, Marie Antoinette, has entered the pineapple fray. Not to eat it, of course, but to wear it. She appears at Versailles in a towering coiffure shaped like a pineapple complete with tiny fountains spritzing rose water. You wonder how it stays up. You wonder how it hasn't caused injury. Rumor says one of her ladies lost an eye to an early prototype. Another developed mild vertigo. But the trend is set. Pineapple hairstyles. Pineapple wigs. Entire architecture salons devoted to recreating its geometry. People say Her Majesty's Anona's royal wig cost more than a year's grain supply for a rural village. You try not to scream. You tour Versailles and notice something eerie. The royal tapestries have been updated. Subtly. In one corner, a pineapple replaces the traditional fleur-de-lis. On a ceiling mural, cherubs now cradle pineapples like sacred relics. It's unsettling. Like being watched by fruit. Meanwhile, pamphleteers have a field day. One scandal sheet runs an illustration of the Estates General France's political body as a pineapple cut in thirds. The crown sits on top. Below it, two ragged slices labeled clergy and nobility at the bottom. Everyone else, gnawed clean, browning. Even foreign diplomats get involved. You find yourself in a smoky room with a British envoy who rolls his eyes over French pineapple mania. "We sent you the plant as a novelty," he mutters. "Not a bloody constitution." You point out Britain isn't exactly innocent. Georgian nobles are also obsessed. He scoffs and sips his tea. It's pineapple flavored. He doesn't notice. Scholars you meet debate whether the pineapple craze actually delays revolution or accelerates it. Some believe it gave the elite a hobby, a way to ignore the rising tide. Others argue it became a symbol of absurd excess like cake, but juicier. And then comes the satirical theater boom. You attend Pineapple or Death, a parody where a pompous noble refuses to surrender his fruit to a starving mob. They guillotine him with a giant silver spoon. The audience howls. Later that night, street urchins reenact the play using turnips and chalk. The metaphor is not subtle. Even court painters join in. One notorious portrait appears Marie Antoinette in full regalia, holding a pineapple like an orb, a scepter in the other hand. Behind her, a garden of spiky, towering plants and a waterfall shaped suspiciously like a guillotine. Officially, it's patriotic. Unofficially, it's a slow, sweet burn. You walk through the gardens of the Tuileries and find a group of students in debate. One insists the pineapple represents unattainable utopia. Another calls it a colonial curse. A third just bites into a slice and says, "Tastes like revolution." In the cafes, the fruit becomes slang. Going pineapple means buying things you can't afford. A pineapple noble is someone too obsessed with foreign novelties to notice domestic problems. Someone coins the phrase "let them eat pineapples." It doesn't catch on, but it could have. Meanwhile, the pineapple black market thrives. You visit an underground club where nobles bid on fruit in candlelit auctions. One slice goes for the price of a small chateau. A man cries when he loses. Another faints when he wins. Somehow, through all this, you end up with a pineapple. It's not yours, exactly. It just appears. Left on your windowsill with a ribbon and a note. "Uni offrande di sucre." You have no idea who sent it. You cradle it like something holy. It smells like money, risk, and mistakes. You don't eat it. You can't. Because now the pineapple isn't a fruit. It's a mirror. And what it's reflecting is a kingdom teetering on the edge of something big, sharp, and irreversible. You dream of pineapples now. They follow you through corridors of candlelight, their leaves whispering like quills on parchment. In your sleep, they grow larger, their skin turning gold and then rust. They split open not with juice, but confetti. A woman in a powdered wig sings opera from inside one. You wake up craving marmalade and revolution. You blame the Montagnards, that radical faction in the National Convention robes. Rage, righteous eyebrows has just declared the pineapple a symbol of tyranny. According to their latest bulletin, no fruit so sharp has ever been so sweetly cruel. You read it twice, unsure if it's poetry, propaganda, or both. Possibly also a recipe. Things are changing fast. Remember that pineapple fountain outside the Hotel de Ville? The one with the gilded cherubs? It's gone. Just vanished. Some say it was dismantled by the revolutionaries. Others claim the cherubs flew away, bored of bourgeois luxury. Either way, people gather around the empty basin now, whispering like it's a crime scene. You trail a group of artists through the crumbling marais. They're sketching posters raw, angry renderings of pineapples with cracked crowns and blood-red juice. One woman, smudged with charcoal, hisses, "We rot with smiles, like them." She doesn't explain who them is. You don't ask, but you begin to notice. Where pineapples once stood, guillotines now rise. One replaces a fountain in place to carousel. Another is built on the site of an old royal orchard. It's symbolic. Someone mutters, "Fruit, then fall. Rich, then ruin." History with bite marks. Historians still argue whether the pineapple craze directly fueled revolutionary sentiment or merely flavored it. Some say it became the last indulgence before collapse. Others claim it was the ultimate parodic, people chasing fruit while the world burned beneath them. You head back to the salons, hoping for refuge. No luck. They're empty now or filled with whispering ghosts. Gilded chairs overturned. Once, you stumble into a room still faintly perfumed with pineapple and rose. A crumpled note lies on the floor. "Liberté, Égalité, Anonymes." You laugh. Then you don't. Word spreads fast. The Queen has banned pineapples from Versailles. Officially, it's to return focus to matters of state. Unofficially, it's fear. People had started calling her Her Tropic Highness. Some say the Queen's final banquet included a pineapple tart, served cold and bitter. You can't verify that, but you do find yourself invited to one last extravagant gathering, an underground ball in a crumbling mansion near the Seine. The theme, the last slice. You go. Inside, guests dance in shadows, their powdered wigs wilting from candle heat. A string quartet plays beneath a massive glass pineapple chandelier. Servants offer tiny cubes of the fruit on gold-plated toothpicks. No one speaks above a whisper. It's beautiful and sickening. You meet a man who claims he smuggled the last pineapple out of Versailles under his coat. He says it still sleeps in ice, waiting for a better France. You nod politely and inch away. You dance with a noblewoman whose perfume smells like citrus and fear. She tells you her family once owned an entire greenhouse just for pineapples. Now we live above a bakery, she murmurs. The bread smells better, but still. At midnight, someone brings out a pineapple on a silver tray. Everyone stares. They slice it, carefully, reverently, one piece per guest. You hold yours like a relic. The room is silent as you all take a bite together. It's sweet, too sweet, and you understand, in that moment, why Paris lost its mind over this fruit. It's not just taste, it's escape. A mouthful of fantasy in a world of hunger and noise. The next day, the palace gates are closed. Rumors fly that the king's private pineapple conservatory has been burned. No one can confirm this. You walk past and smell only ash and thyme. Even the black market shifts. Pineapples are no longer traded for gold, they are traded for secrets. A noble hands off a single leaf in exchange for a fake passport. A merchant offers candied rind to bribe a prison guard. Pineapple perfume is said to mask the scent of fear. You meet a man in an alliance, a royal gardener, now a revolutionary. He teaches you how to grow pineapples in a pot of manure and prayer. No more palaces, he says. Just windowsills. His eyes gleam like sunlit molasses. There's a rumor, of course there is, that one pineapple survived. A perfect one. Hidden deep in the catacombs. Guarded by an ex-chef and 3 feral cats. It's said to glow in the dark and hum lullabies. People leave offerings. A candied fig. A poem. A locket. You never find it, but you smell sweetness once, in the tunnels. Maybe that's enough. By now, the pineapple is banned. Officially condemned as a royalist corruption of fruit. To own one is treason. To speak of one, suspicious. To dream of one, dangerous. Still, they linger in corners of memory. Graffiti reappears, a pineapple with a liberty cap. A pineapple crying. A pineapple being guillotined and smiling. Pineapples in red, white, and blue. You begin to collect fragments. A dried leaf, flat and waxy. A torn invitation with a golden border. A sketch of a fountain that no longer exists. You carry them like relics. Like proof, not of fruit, but of madness. And maybe, of hope. Because even as the streets grow darker and the cries louder, there are those who whisper, the pineapple will return. When France is ready. When we remember how to want beauty without hoarding it. When we laugh at ourselves again. You keep walking. Past broken statues and boarded salons. Past the ruins of royal dreams. Past a boy selling candied apples and calling them Republican pineapples. You keep walking. Because the story isn't done. Not yet. You're not entirely sure how it starts, but somewhere between the fall of a monarchy and the rise of new orders, the pineapple returns. Not with trumpets or fireworks. Not with fountains. But quietly. In soap. Yes, soap. You're in a market stall in the shadow of Notre Dame, where a woman with red-stained hands sells a new kind of cleanliness. Pineapple essence, she whispers, sliding a small bar across the table. Smells like paradise. Feels like freedom. You raise an eyebrow. She shrugs. Better than vinegar and regret. As it turns out, post-revolutionary Paris needs a lot of soap. Especially the kind that doesn't remind you of gunpowder and spilled wine. The pineapple, for all its royal baggage, now wafts into wash basins, bathhouses, and bourgeoisie apartments. You sniff the bar. Sweet, citrus, hopeful. And just like that, the fruit begins its second life, not as a trophy, but as a scent. Paris is healing. Slowly, clumsily. The streets are still cracked, the statues still missing heads, but people are planting things again. You pass balconies lined with flowers. You see a child scribble a pineapple in chalk. It's smiling this time. In a pamphlet stand. You find a zine titled Reclaiming the Ananas. It's printed on cheap, recycled paper and smells faintly of onions. But the tone is earnest. It reads, "Let the pineapple be not royal, but real. Let it grow among us. Let it be ordinary. And that will be the greatest revolution of all." You fold it into your pocket. Historians still argue whether this pineapple revival was grassroots or cleverly orchestrated. Some say soap makers saw a marketing gap. Others believe disillusioned nobles quietly funneled pineapples into working-class neighborhoods to feel less guilty. There's even a theory that Napoleon himself liked the smell. You're not sure, but the pineapple is no longer a symbol of excess. It's a fragrance in laundries, a taste in humble puddings, a sketch in a child's schoolbook. You visit a small cafe in Montmartre where they serve reform punch, a mix of local cider, mint, and yes, pineapple syrup. It's tangy and oddly emotional. The owner laughs when you compliment it. "My grandmother said the king once drank better." I say he didn't have this view. You look out. The sun sinks over the rooftops. Somewhere nearby, someone's playing a violin. Later, you find yourself at a civic art exhibit. Paintings line the cracked walls of what used to be a noble's ballroom. Most are earnest depictions of labor harvests, meetings, muddy boots. But one painting catches your eye. A woman standing in a cabbage field, holding a pineapple like a torch. Her dress is plain. Her gaze isn't. No label, no title. You ask the artist, a shy man with ink-stained fingers, what it means. He shrugs. We all carried something through the storm. Even the language shifts. You hear children calling things pineapple level good in debates. Politicians speak of spiky starts with golden ends. The fruit, somehow, has gone from metaphor for failure to metaphor for resilience. Like the city itself, prickly, bruised, but oddly beautiful inside. One day, you're walking through the Luxembourg Gardens and see a modest sculpture. Bronze. Simple. A pineapple resting on a book. The plaque reads, "To all that survives absurdity." You smile, then frown. Did someone follow you around writing down your thoughts? By now, you've lost count of how many pineapple-shaped objects you've seen. Teapots, doorknobs, inkwells. Someone even carves one into a bench and placed a La Republic. It becomes a meeting point. By the ananas, people say. See you there. You keep hearing stories. One seamstress claims her great-aunt smuggled a pineapple seedling through the gates during the Terror. Another swears the empress once bathed in pineapple juice to ward off curses. A particularly confident historian insists the pineapple was used to bribe an executioner. He didn't take it, the scholar adds soberly. Preferred chocolate. Some stories feel true. Some you just want to believe. You meet a baker who makes anarchist pineapple buns. You meet a teacher who hands out dried pineapple slices as rewards. You even meet a grizzled former revolutionary who admits, after 2 glasses of punch, that he still dreams of Versailles and its pineapple topiary maze. "I used to get lost in it," he mutters, on purpose. And through all this, the pineapple shifts again back into luxury, but into something almost nostalgic. Like childhood, like fairy tales, like something you remember from a past life. You visit a tiny village outside Paris, where an old woman claims to grow pineapples in her greenhouse. You expect disappointment. Instead, she leads you through a warm, glassy corridor to a single, perfect plant. It's small, sharp, and golden. "From a cutting my father stole from a courtier," she says proudly. "I don't eat it. I just like knowing it's there." You nod. You understand. Because by now, the pineapple isn't just fruit, fashion, or fragrance. It's folklore. It's something Paris imagined so hard, so collectively, that it never quite let go. Even when the kings fell. Even when the wigs wilted. Even when the fountains dried up. The pineapple endured not because it mattered, but because it didn't. Because it was delightful, and weird, and unnecessary. And somehow, in the rubble of reason, that made it essential. You look around. The city is no longer drunk on sugar and syrup. It doesn't chase pineapples through salons or sculpt them into marble. But it remembers. A little. Enough. And as you walk home past flickering lamps, or warm pastry in your hand, you smell it again just faintly. Pineapple. In the air. Still. You know Paris is truly changing when the pineapple turns bureaucratic. You're at a town hall meeting a real one, with chairs and tea and a man named Claude taking very loud minutes when someone proposes a motion to include pineapples in the city's new botanical seal. You think it's a joke, until you see the sketches. A shield, laurel leaves, and in the center, one proud, squat pineapple. The room is divided. One side argues the pineapple symbolizes resilience and shared luxury, like how it once belonged only to kings, and now it's in everyone's jam. The other side mutters about fruit trauma and we're not doing that again. You sip your tea. It's lukewarm and flavored with something suspiciously tropical. The vote passes. Barely. And so, the pineapple is stitched into the new civic tapestry literary, embroidered onto uniforms, stamped onto market permits, carved onto the handles of public benches. It begins to show up on the corner of tax forms, as if to say, smile. Your money helped grow this fruit metaphor. It's absurd, but it's also kind of wonderful. Historians still argue whether this institutional embrace of the pineapple was a clever rebranding or just Paris being Paris. Some say it was a deliberate act of historical healing. Others suspect the fabric unions had too much influence. You suspect Claude, frankly. His embroidery hobby is no secret. You visit a new museum, Musée Frugalite Moderne. It's a strange mix: grey mills, looms, a very impressive collection of spoons. But tucked in the corner, you find an exhibit titled The Pineapple Reclaimed. It's low-lit, soft-spoken, and smells gently of vinegar and marmalade. There's a diorama of a peasant family sharing a pineapple slice by candlelight. A recreated revolutionary poster with the tagline, Liberty, Fraternity, Acidity. Even an interactive display where you can crunk a tiny pineapple press and watch syrup trickle into a tiny porcelain bowl. Children love it. So do adults. One man cries. You press the little crank. The syrup runs slow and sticky. You lick your finger and taste 3 centuries of nonsense, revolution, and accidental poetry. Outside, a street vendor sells pineapple fritters. They're golden and dusted with cinnamon. You buy one, eat half, and give the rest to a passing dog who licks your hand like you've just made his week. This is what Paris is: no half history, half snack stand, fully sentimental. You find a new kind of bookstore. Independent, slouchy, chaotic. A cat lives in the philosophy section. The owner wears socks with pineapples on them and insists they're post-ironic. He shows you a novel titled The Queen's Pineapple. You flip through. She held it like a grenade made of gold. If they won't eat cake, she whispered, let them juice this. It's terrible. You buy it immediately. Later, you join a walking tour called Ananas, Paris's forbidden fruit. Your guide is theatrical. A former actor with a voice like molasses and a monocle he definitely doesn't need. He tells stories you already know, but you don't. Minder makes them sing. He points to a drainage pipe shaped vaguely like a pineapple and claims it once funneled secret fruit into the catacombs. He shows you a sour lid with a D etched beside a spiky crown and swears it means Anonis Domini. You don't correct him. You tip him extra. That night, at a dinner party full of teachers and poets and one very chatty dentist, someone brings out a pineapple upside-down cake. The room goes quiet. Not reverent, just nostalgic. You all take a slice. Someone toasts to the fruit that nearly ruined us. Someone else replies, and still tastes like vacation. There's laughter. The cake is sticky and warm. The dentist proposes a toast to reversible fortunes and reversible cakes. You laugh harder than you should. In the quieter corners of the city, pineapples take on a new role, secret symbols. You see them graffitied on alley walls, tucked into old crests, woven into knitting circles. They're not loud anymore. They don't need to be. One morning, you discover a tiny garden carved into the courtyard of what used to be a prison. There, in a rusted planter box, grows a single pineapple plant. The plaque says nothing, just a date, and a quote, "Some sweetness survives." You sit on a nearby bench, close your eyes, listen to the wind carry faint strains of a street violinist playing something old, slow, and vaguely tropical. You're not sure if it's a lullaby or a revolution. The pineapple is no longer about the fruit itself. It's a placeholder for stories, for absurdity endured, for symbols reclaimed and redefined. And Paris wears it with pride, not because it needs to impress, but because it finally doesn't. Your neighbor invites you to a fete day fruits next weekend. It's a neighborhood thing. There's rumor of pineapple pie, pineapple lanterns, maybe even pineapple crowns made of tin foil and broken dreams. You say yes, because why not? The madness that once broke the city has fermented into something sweeter. No longer obsession, just tradition. No longer hysteria, just history. And maybe that's all a culture really is. Weird things you did once that you keep doing because they now feel like yours. You wander past a bookstore window. They're displaying a collection of historical essays titled Spikes and Thrones, How France Survived Pineapple Politics. You chuckle and keep walking. The light hits the pavement just right. You swear you see the shape of a pineapple in the shadows of the tree branches. You blink. It's gone. But you keep walking. You always do. You notice that pineapples have become Paris's unofficial mascots, sneaking into everyday life like cheeky ghosts of a fruit-fueled past. One morning, you step out of your apartment to find your mailbox adorned with a tiny carved pineapple. No note, just the fruit. A silent, spiky reminder that history is watching. You carry that image with you all day, like a secret handshake with the city itself. In cafes, you overhear conversations about the pineapple effect, a local term, it seems, for how a small luxuriance reserved for kings and queens can ripple through society, reshaping culture in surprising ways. It's discussed by scholars and baristas alike, sometimes in the same breath. The phenomenon even inspires new art forms. You attend a street performance where dancers wear pineapple costumes, soft, exaggerated spikes and bright yellow feathers. The music is a mix of Baroque strings and Caribbean drums. The crowd is entranced. You're mesmerized, wondering how a fruit so out of place in 18th century Paris could inspire such creative chaos centuries later. You discover that the pineapple has been immortalized in a surprising place. The Paris Metro. One station, long ago renamed but unofficially dubbed Ananas, features subtle pineapple motifs in its ironwork and tiling. The story goes that an anonymous artist embedded these symbols to remind commuters of the city's resilience and its quirky past. You ride the metro, searching for these hidden details, feeling like a fruit detective in a city full of secrets. Historians still debate whether these pineapple tributes were intended as satire or genuine homage. Some believe they represent the absurdity of the Ancien regime's excess. Others argue they symbolize the city's ability to reclaim and transform its history. One evening, you join a pineapple-themed book club that meets in a cozy basement lined with vintage posters of fruit and revolution. Tonight's book, a fictionalized memoir of a pineapple merchant navigating the turbulent streets of Paris. The discussion is lively, sprinkled with laughter and pineapple pastries. You learn a quirky fact. Some Parisians believe that placing a pineapple atop your door was a secret code for hospitality, an early version of the Airbnb sign, but judiciaire. Of course, not everyone got the memo. Some mistook it for a declaration of pineapple addiction or even political allegiance. As you stroll through the Latin Quarter, you stumble upon a tiny shop selling pineapple-infused chocolates and jams. The owner greets you warmly and shares a story about his great-grandfather, who once supplied pineapples to the royal court. He smiles wistfully, adding, "Now, we just make people happy with sweets, no crowns needed." You can't help but think how the pineapple's journey mirrors Paris itself, once a symbol of exclusivity, then chaos, and now comfort. That night, you dream again of pineapples, this time not as grand fountains or forbidden fruits, but as simple gifts shared among friends. You wait feeling oddly hopeful. Walking back home, you pass a mural depicting a pineapple rising from rubble, bathed in dawn's golden light. You pause, tracing the outline with your eyes, and realize that the pineapple isn't just a fruit or a symbol, it's a story Paris tells itself about survival, transformation, and a touch of sweet absurdity. You smile, tuck your hands into your coat pockets, and keep walking. You find yourself wandering toward the Marais district, where the old meets the new like ingredients in a slow-cooked stew. The streets are narrower here, cobbled with uneven stones, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The air smells faintly of roasted chestnuts and espresso. And pineapple. You can't quite explain it, but a subtle pineapple scent drifts from a bakery window, mixing with the rich coffee and autumn leaves. It's not overwhelming, more like a wink. You duck inside and discover a small cafe called Les Petits Anonis. The owner, a sprightly woman with a mischievous smile, greets you as if you've arrived exactly when she was hoping you would. She serves you a cup of pineapple-infused tea with a slice of freshly baked brioche studded with tiny bits of candied pineapple. "It's our little homage," she says, winking, "to the fruit that survived revolutions and bad fashion choices." You sit by the window, watching the world pass by as you sip. An elderly couple shares a pineapple tart, their fingers occasionally brushing like secret conspirators. A group of teenagers sketches pineapple cartoons in a notebook, giggling. You remember how the pineapple was once a symbol of wealth and power, how it was so rare that kings would rent one to display at parties. Now it's humble and joyful, part of everyday life. Historians still argue whether the pineapple's fall from aristocratic grace to popular culture was a genuine shift or a savvy marketing ploy. But sitting here, you don't need to choose a side. You just enjoy the moment. As you leave, the owner hands you a small postcard depicting a pineapple wearing a tiny beret. You tuck it into your coat pocket, a souvenir of the city's strange, sweet journey. Outside, you notice a street artist painting a mural of a pineapple dressed as a revolutionary, complete with tricolor sash and a scowl. The colors are bold reds, blues, and yellows swirling together in vibrant defiance. You snap a photo. It feels like a declaration. The pineapple is here to stay in all its prickly glory. You continue walking and find a small bookshop hosting a lecture titled Pineapple Politics, Fruit and Power in Revolutionary France. The speaker is a historian with a twinkle in his eye, weaving tales of pineapple diplomacy and underground fruit markets. You sit near the back, absorbing every word. During the Q&A, someone asks if the pineapple ever represented hope for common people. The historian smiles and replies, "Absolutely. It's the fruit that taught Paris that even the grandest symbols can be made human." Walking home, you pass a playground where children play a game called Pin the Crown on the Pineapple. Laughter bubbles through the air, light and contagious. You realize that the pineapple is more than just a fruit or a symbol, it's a story shared across generations, a thread woven into the city's fabric. You smile to yourself. Paris is full of surprises, and somehow, the pineapple is one of its sweetest. You find yourself drawn to the quieter edges of Paris, where the city breathes slower and the echoes of history linger like soft whispers. Here, The pineapple takes on a subtler role, not loud fountains or bold murals, but delicate touches woven into daily life. In a tiny florist's shop, you spot a bouquet arranged with pineapple leaves, their sharp edges contrasting with soft roses. The florist tells you it's a tradition dating back centuries, symbolizing welcome and prosperity. She adds with a wink, and a bit of rebellion, too. You wander through a neighborhood market where vendors proudly display pineapple-themed handcrafted jewelry, embroidered linens, even soaps scented with pineapple essence. The scent reminds you of that first post-revolution soap stall, that bold attempt to cleanse the city's wounds with sweetness. Historians still debate how much of this pineapple resurgence is nostalgia versus genuine cultural revival. Some argue it's a collective coping mechanism, a way for Parisians to reclaim a complicated past with humor and grace. Others see it as pure marketing genius, a fruit-shaped Trojan horse sneaking into every corner. You buy a pineapple-shaped candle from an elderly woman who tells you it's to light your way when history feels heavy. Later, you visit a small art gallery featuring contemporary works inspired by the pineapple's legacy. One piece sculpture of a cracked pineapple spilling golden light strikes you deeply. It's both fragile and radiant, much like Paris itself. You meet the artist, a young woman who explains her work as an exploration of transformation and endurance. The pineapple survived because it was unexpected, she says. Like us. You walk home through narrow lanes bathed in twilight, the city's noises soften to a gentle hum. You pass an old cafe where a pianist plays softly, weaving melodies that seem to echo the pineapple's journey, sweet, sharp, and enduring. You pause to watch a group of friends sharing a pineapple tart, their laughter mingling with the music. It feels like a small celebration of survival, of history made human. As you continue, you catch a glimpse of a tiny plaque on a building corner. Here once stood a pineapple garden, tended by those who dreamed of freedom. You touch the cool stone, feeling the weight of stories beneath your fingers. The pineapple has become more than a symbol of opulence or revolution. It's a reminder that even in the prickliest moments, there is sweetness to be found. You breathe deeply, letting the city's scent, pineapple, rain, and old stone fill you with quiet hope. You wake up to a Paris morning shimmering with light filtered through lace curtains. The city is waking slowly, like it's savoring the last bits of sleep before the day pulls it into its usual whirl. And somewhere in the distance, the faint hum of a fountain trickles, maybe even one shaped like a pineapple. You wouldn't be surprised. Today, you're heading to a peculiar place, the archives beneath the city, where dusty documents and forgotten manuscripts lie stacked like time itself, waiting to be unraveled. You'll guide a bespectacled archivist with a penchant for dramatic sight leads you through narrow tunnels lined with shelves heavy with Parisian secrets. Among the yellowed papers, you find records of pineapple imports, extravagant receipts, and letters discussing how to arrange pineapple fountains for royal feasts. The scribbles reveal just how seriously the fruit was taken and how it nearly drove the city mad with desire. You learn an odd fact. Some nobles once paid entire fortunes just to rent a single pineapple for a party, to be displayed like a trophy before being discarded. That's like the 18th century version of posting your avocado toast on Instagram. Historians still argue whether these pineapple extravagances helped fuel revolutionary anger or distracted from it. Some say the fruit was a symbol of excess that highlighted inequality. Others claim it was a harmless indulgence, a fleeting obsession that didn't sway politics much. You pore over a letter from a disgruntled Parisian, complaining that the pineapple fountains wasted precious water during a drought. You chuckle at the old grump's frustration. It sounds so familiar, doesn't it? Deeper in the archives, you find recipes for pineapple syrups and preserves, annotated with notes in flowing script. One recipe suggests mixing pineapple juice with local herbs to make a soothing tonic. Another warns, beware the pineapple's bite. It sweetens, but stings. You imagine the city's apothecaries carefully concocting these syrups, blending science and superstition in equal measure. Stepping back into the sunlight, the city feels alive with layers of stories ripe with contradictions, sharpness, and sweetness. You stop by a small cafe and order a pineapple sorbet, cold and bright against the spring air. As you savor it, you realize the pineapple isn't just a relic or a fad, it's a thread in the tapestry of Parisian life, a symbol that's been remade again and again. You wonder, as you watch the city pulse around you, what future myths the pineapple might inspire. For now, you're content to savor this one. You stroll along the Seine at dusk, the sky bleeding pink and gold, the water reflecting the city's shimmer like a liquid mirror. The air is cool, but still carries a hint of summer's, promising something unexpectedly tropical. You're drawn toward an evening festival in a small park, where lanterns shaped like pineapples sway gently in the breeze. The festival is a curious blend of old and new. Accordion music meets DJ beats, powdered wigs mingle with streetwear, and tables groan under the weight of pineapple-themed dishes, cakes, tarts, cocktails, even savory pies. You join a group of locals gathered around a storyteller who spins tales of pineapple legends, of secret gardens and forbidden fruits, of how a single pineapple once united a neighborhood during hard times. His voice is rich and warm, weaving history with humor and just a hint of mystery. You realize the pineapple has become a vessel for storytelling, a fruit that carries the city's dreams and dramas with it. The night deepens, and you find yourself part of a dance circle, the pineapple lanterns glowing overhead like stars. People laugh, twirl, and share stories, their faces lit by firelight and friendship. Historians still debate the pineapple's role in Parisian identity, whether it's a quirky footnote or a fundamental symbol. But here, beneath the lanterns, it feels deeply real. You taste a cocktail named the Spiked Revolution, sweet and tart with a kick that makes you smile. Nearby, a poet reads verses inspired by the pineapple's journey, a metaphor for resilience, rebellion, and renewal. You join in the applause, feeling the warmth of community and the strange comfort of shared history. As the festival winds down, you wander back through quiet streets, the pineapple lanterns flickering out one by one, leaving trails of soft light like fleeting memories. You think about the fruit's strange path from exotic curiosity to cultural icon, from luxury to everyday joy. It's a reminder that even the most unexpected things can become symbols of hope and connection. You pause on a bridge, looking out over the water. The city hums around you, alive and restless. And somewhere, you swear you hear the faint sound of a fountain, bubbling quiet like hopes, pineapple-shaped, perhaps just imagined. You smile and keep walking, the night wrapping around you like a gentle, spiky hug. You wait to a gentle drizzle, the kind that makes Paris feel like a watercolor painting, edges blurred and colors softened. The streets glisten under the gray sky, and the scent of wet stone mingles with something faintly sweet, pineapple, of course. Your last morning in this city of secrets and spiky surprises feels like a quiet farewell. You decide to visit a small museum tucked away on a side street, one dedicated to the curious and the overlooked, the Musée des Curiosités Anonymes. Inside, exhibits chronicle the pineapple's rise from exotic fruit to cultural icon, peppered with quirky artifacts, a gilded pineapple throne, sketches of fountain designs, and even a pineapple-shaped snuffbox once owned by a queen. You trace your fingers along the glass, marveling at how a simple fruit could weave itself into the fabric of a city's identity so thoroughly. In a small theater within the museum, you catch a short film blending history and fantasy, imagining Paris as a giant pin-up pleach arrondissement, a juicy segment, prickly and protective, yet sweet inside. You laugh quietly at the absurdity, but also feel a strange sense of belonging. The pineapple, with all its contradictions, somehow feels like a friend. Outside, the rain has stopped, and the city glimmers anew. You walk to a nearby cafe and order one last pineapple tart, warm and fragrant. As you bite into it, the flavors burst on your tongue with a perfect blend of tartness and sweetness, just like the story you've lived through. You think about the countless Parisians who over the centuries have looked at this fruit and seen something more: status, rebellion, hope, humor. Historians still argue whether the pineapple was a catalyst for change or simply a backdrop to history's grander dramas. Maybe it's both, or neither. You tuck the museum's postcard into your pocket, a final memento. As you stroll back, the city's lights flicker on, casting a golden glow over the wet streets. Somewhere nearby, you hear the soft gurgle of water from a fountain, its shape unmistakable. You pause, letting the moment wash over you. The pineapple has become a symbol of Paris itself, layered, complex, and unexpectedly sweet. You take a deep breath, feeling the city's pulse beneath your feet, and smile. You've come full circle, from curiosity to understanding, from fantasy to fondness. And as night falls, you know the story isn't over. It lives on in every corner of this city, waiting for the next curious soul to find it.